What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Black's Genesis, here in the building. This is episode 6, podcast 1001. Before we get started, like, comment, share, subscribe, okay? Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on all platforms where you get your podcasts. It's your girl in the building. I'm super excited today. We have one of my friends who I haven't seen in so long, but she's here today, Jasmine Gates, everybody.
Thank you.
Jasmine, you are owner of New Black History Makers.
Yes.
Yeah. Are there any other titles that you hold? For me, that's how I know you.
Yeah. So I do New Black History Makers, and then I also started a new business with branding and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Gates University. So my clientele is mainly people in the church. That's just the way the cards have played themselves.
Right.
So I do branding and marketing for events, conferences, authors, people with businesses, just whatever. So from designing to coming up with whole rollout plans for events and stuff. So
Get out of here, Jasmine.
Yeah.
Is that something new, or have you been doing that? Because I have known you for some years now, and we're not like super duper close.
Mm-hmm.
However, I have watched you, and I'm like, I feel like you're stepping into a role that you've always either done or been really, really good at. You're always the type to be like, this is how I think you should do things. And not even so much in like you need to do it like this, but like your suggestions hit. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Yeah, so I had to do it for New Black History Makers. I was like, I started New Black History Makers when I was 22. Didn't, of course, have the money, but had the heart to do it. Yeah. And I believe in doing things in excellence. But, couldn't pay people, but I still wanted to do stuff. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not going to let the lack of resources stop me from like the purpose that I, have. So I learned how to do a lot of stuff. Shout out to my dad. He's the same way. Yeah. He's like self-taught in almost every aspect, like cars, fixing stuff. Like, so I just have that in me. And because I'm in year 7 with New Black History Makers, I've branded, this brand. I've made a lot of the designs and stuff. So people started asking me like, oh, can you do this for me? And I was like, well, let me see if I can capture someone else's vision. Because I captured mine but it was like to hear someone else's and being able to capture it. I was a little hesitant with it, and I gave myself about 1.5 years and was like, let me do some free work and see. And now, people are like sending me text messages when I'm sending back the work, like, oh, this is exactly, what I wanted. So I just, from New Black History Makers, that's kind of where it kind of developed.
When God give you the vision, he's going to make
provision.
Come on! Because I couldn't get it, but come on! And it's so crazy. I love your transparency during your walk because you don't shy away from telling people how you feel and showing them the process. I follow you on your socials, and for years I've watched you talk about the things you've had to endure on your your Instagram, your threads, and talk about like just the step-by-step process that you go through. But what's always stuck out to me was how you, at the end of, say, talking about your woes or your accomplishments or whatever, you always am like, I'm super grateful to be in this position though, because, this is where I'm supposed to be. I might be a little tired, but I'm pushing through because God's not going to give me this assignment if I wasn't able to execute And I'm like, yeah, girl, because we need to keep that at the forefront. So this episode, the topic of conversation today is spirituality versus religion. I'm so glad that I was able to get you. I was trying to get somebody that I knew who kind of came from the same background as me, but because you're a PK, right?
Yeah, my grandfather pastored. My parents are ministers. So
right.
Same,
okay, so I say, so I'm a PK too. A lot of people would argue that because, not my parents, but my grandparents. Yeah. But I was raised by my grandparents. So I'm like, I'm for sure a PK. When I say I grew up in church.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so that sticks with you, right? You grow into that. But I grew up and found a whole new perspective on God and religion and all that. And I wanted to have a conversation with you because I feel like we think the same, but we also have different perspectives on it. We, you know, we have different thoughts. And so I thought you would be a fun person to kind of like have that, because I am still very respectful about people. About people's feelings on certain things or perspectives or how they view certain things in their walk, because that's just a gift that God gave me, to be sensitive to people's walk, because just because our walks are different, we can still be, coexist with each other. Because at the forefront, I still am a Christ believer. I'm still a person who believes in the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. That's never changed for me. A lot of other things changed, but that's never changed. Okay. You know what I mean? So let's just jump right into it. Okay. First question is, what is the difference between being religious and being spiritual, in your own words?
I think when you look at religion, it is a set of rules, or it is the way that you are governing yourself. It's the framework of what you're doing. I think when you look into like spirituality or the spirit, for me, I remember doing an episode on this like pre-pandemic when I was into podcasting, and I believe the definition was like, your spirit is like the seat of your emotions, right? Mm-hmm. So when you think of religion, that's framework. Spirit is a lot more nuanced. It's a lot more, I don't want to say free-flowing, meaning you can do whatever, but free-flowing in terms of the places that it goes into.
Yeah. Right. That makes sense.
So it's there's a lot more that happens with your spirit that needs to be talked about, that doesn't necessarily happen when you talk about religion and the rules and the practicality of things.
Yeah. Are you more religious or spiritual?
Because of how I grew up, I am a religious person. The spirituality part definitely comes in later, but I'm not a free spirit. Yeah. Like, I'm not, I believe that religion is necessary. I think I'm sure we'll get into it. I think we've misrepresented what religion is supposed to be, and connotatively, like, we look at religion as a negative thing, but I think it's necessary. Yeah. But yeah, I grew up a certain way, and I'm dismantling a lot, and even in my dismantling and deconstructing, like, I'm still that like church mother, like inside, like
you can take the girl out the church. You can't take the church out the girl.
Yeah, and I struggle with that sometimes, but I feel like I'm doing a good job, because I'll feel the judgment or whatever come up, and I'll stop it before it comes out as an action. But I'm definitely more on the religious side.
That's interesting. I am more so on the spiritual side. I always say, and I say this all the time because it just fits my whole personality and how I represent myself. I'm way too spiritual for the Christians, way too Christian for the spiritualists.
Yeah.
I just don't make sense to neither of them. Mm-hmm. And in my head, I'm like, y'all, we all saying the same thing. The thing that always comforts me is, I know my intentions in regards to my faith walk. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, my intention is to find the truth, and that's what I should be doing. That's biblical. You know what I mean? Like, I should be rightly dividing the word of truth, so I can, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to show myself approved to God, that I have done the work, so that I'm able to, by the time I get to him fully, I'm like, oh, you can't tear me away, because I did the work. You know what I mean? I did the research. I tried to figure it out over here, and this is where I ended up settling, because regardless of whether we believe or not, that does not make God, not who he is. You know what I mean? God is going to exist whether we believe or not. Right. That's a constant. That's something that's always stuck with me. Definitely more spiritual than religious. Grew up in religion, going to church religiously, being told, oh, you're going to be a prophet, you're going to be a preacher, you're going to do all this. I'm like, no, I'm not. First of all, there are 9 spiritual gifts. I don't have to be a prophet. I could be something else. You know what I'm saying? I know y'all probably see certain things, but this is a lot of things that the older folks will say, they see on the kids, and it's like, y'all seeing all the same shit on us. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it's like, bro, some of us got the spirit of healing. Some of us got, the power of tongue, however you want to interpret that. Some of us, have wisdom. Some of us have knowledge. Wisdom and let's be clear, wisdom and knowledge are not the same thing.
Yeah.
Wisdom is from God. Knowledge is something you can gain. You can read. You can gain knowledge. Wisdom is that has to be given.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, it hurts me, and I want to know how you feel about this. Because I grew up in church, I've seen a lot that I feel like I shouldn't have. Heard a lot that I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Was privy to a lot of the business side of church.
Yeah.
And it turns you off. And so now in my adulthood, I'm like, it pains me to say that I'm a Christian because there is a negative connotation and kind of like air around being a Christian, because Christians are typically not the nicest people. Christians are typically not the most forgiving. And so I don't like to say that, but it's hard to not say that, because it's like, well, I don't want people to hear me say I'm not a Christian and think I'm not a follower of the Christ, because then I don't want you doing no juju around me, but back up. So, how do you feel about that? I mean, religion is so set in its ways, and I know just from your whole, when you tell people that you're a Christian, are they sometimes like, well, I didn't get that from you, or maybe like, are you going to be a certain way with me? And do I have to be this person around you so that I don't offend your Christianity? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's interesting. I think people always have known that I've been churchy. I've been in the church, my entire life. So there's things about me that I just cannot turn off. I can't, get rid of. Even when I wasn't giving God like a full yes, it was just like, Jazz is still, churchy. Now, entering more into a space where I really never have been in this space, but having friends friends that I used to kick it with, not inviting me out as much, or not, involving me in things, that's a new season for me. Not that I'm like completely bothered by it, because I understand what it is, and I've heard the stories my whole life. Your friends set apart. Yeah. So, I'm of course not necessarily the same person. I've grown in Christ, but I think people, they expect it from me. They respect my faith. I think that's one thing that I'm very grateful for is, even when people, I have even cousins, we grew up the same, right? Like they'll excuse themselves, and I'm like, y'all ain't gotta excuse yourselves, around me. When you smoking, you drinking, you cussing, doing whatever, like all of that is fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't challenge my faith.
Right.
But yeah, no one has said like, oh, I'm shocked that you're, a Christian. I don't know what their perception is of me, or what it is that they see on me, but I've never really got that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, most people.
Do you think, you spoke about friends not inviting you out and stuff like that. Do you think it's because you are further in your walk and they are not, and so they don't want to mingle with?
It's a perception, right? It's like, even though you see me at church all the time, or I post myself being at church, I'm like, I've been going to church all 30 years.
Right.
It's not a difference, but, some people just they deal with their own convictions, and they're just like, well, I don't want that over there. I feel like, I grew up Kojic. I don't mind saying that. I know we all have our views on what, the Church of God in Christ and everything, but, I feel like I land on the more gracious side than what Kojic has represented, and no shade to it. I'm still very much so Kojic.
Right.
My life is very dipped in the church. But I feel like I land on a more gracious side than what we were taught and what we're still being taught even today. Yeah. So it sometimes it's confusing, but I understand, if you're living a certain lifestyle, and essentially historically church people have been against it, and you see that I'm at church more times than not, you like, well, Jazz is probably gonna feel a way about this, or she's probably gonna say anything. But at the end of the day, I know my friends and people, they can go back to how I've treated them, you know, and say like, she has not, judged me. She has allowed space for me to do, whatever it is. So
allow space for you to be, or for them to be in their walk and do what they do. I have, so my very best friend, who I am like this with since I was 12 years old, growing up, we were both in church heavy, but she kind of strayed away, did her own thing, and I was like, nah, Bess, this is me back in the day, like, no, Bess, you need to assemble thyself. Romans say, you know.
Come on, word.
And then it just switched as I got older, or as we both got older when I got into my adulthood. Then I was like, yeah, I won't be going to a church again ever. And I still stand by that for my own reasons.
But not in church now?
No, absolutely not. Haven't been in years. And even when I was going a few years back, I was going to sing because I've always been a choir girl. I've never the choir. I've always been a choir girl. So that's my roots for real.
Yeah.
So I would go and sing and help out at different churches, but then I was just like, yeah, not doing this. But recently, my best friend started a Bible study. Because, like I said, a few years ago, she got real heavy into really, heavy into the church back inside. And she started a Bible study recently. And one day she had me, she's like, Bess, join the Bible study, please. And I joined, and I've been in the Bible study every Friday. And this is like, and she's been, we opened up a testimony service in the beginning of the Bible study. And she's like, I just thank God for my best friend. He bringing her back. And I'm like, first of all, I ain't never left. But the old folks say God will use the foolish things to confound the wise. Let me tell you something. God knew that she would have to be the one to bring me closer.
Yeah.
Because she's such a non-judgmental personality. She knows my walk with God. She is very much so doing this out of reverence for God, obedience for God, and then also like let's commune. It's a women's Bible study. Let's commune with women. And it's been good. And in being in the Bible study, I've noticed I'm praying more. I'm doing, you know what I mean? Yeah. I do see a switch. And so I'm like, our friends, in reference to what you said about people, feeling a certain way about you, our friends really have to give us the grace to do what we do because we're all going to come back. I believe that. Yeah. Before you leave here. Because if no man's going to be left without an excuse, what does that mean? Everybody's going to have to acknowledge at some point.
Yeah.
I really believe that'll happen. You know what I'm saying? Let's move to because I feel like I ain't even reading the questions no more. Okay, do you believe religion is necessary for morality, or can spirituality guide people just as well? I think you kind of answered this, but in reference to like
being good.
Yeah.
As a good person.
Yeah, right. Because you know how you have some spiritual people who are like, well, all you have to be is a good person. Is that enough?
Yeah. I think your perception of good, matters because, the Bible says like, pray for your enemies, right? So that is good we don't perceive it as good, but we recognize that as good because God has called us to that, right? But in the real world, it's like pray for your enemies. Like, why would I do that? Right? But you need the religious part, right, to get you into that space. Because at the end of the day, if I'm thinking about it, me praying for my enemies instead of ruminating on what they've done to me is better, right? So I would say it would depend on what your depiction is of morality. Do you want to sit in the ruminating thoughts and be like, I'm gonna beat them up, and just when you get up in the morning, because the prayer essentially is for you.
Yeah, right.
It's not you. You praying for your enemy, but it's really trying to dismantle the negative feelings that you have in yourself.
Right.
So when I think about that kind of stuff, it's like it might be needed.
Yeah.
Of course there are good people around. They may not step by step follow the Bible, but just off of default, there are practices that they have that are in the Bible.
Yeah.
So it's not needed. Yeah. Like people don't need to go to church to be good, but I think mentally, it's some practices in the Bible, that'll keep you in keep your mind right, so if that answers.
It does make sense. It makes sense to me. I understood it 100%. Yeah. Do you feel more connected to your higher power inside of the church or outside of it?
Okay, the saint's gonna be like, higher power,
God.
They're gonna be like, Jazz.
God.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But no, you said inside the church or outside the church?
Because I grew up with my grandma saying you need to be inside of the church house if you want God to move for you. You need to be there. And I was very confused growing up because I'm like, honestly, I feel God more when I'm not there. I feel like I minister to people outside of church more than I do in church. I mean, we're all in church. We believe in the same thing, right? So it's no need to really like, do you get what I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Like,
and I want you to know I'm over, because you know I'm often on the other side, right? Asking the questions. So I'm over here holding back a lot of questions.
Yeah. You can ask.
I don't want to prolong the thing, but okay. Outside of the church or inside the church. I'm a pusher of, you do need to be a part of community. I strongly believe that. And I'm not going to say, I believe that you need to be a part of a church. You need to be submitted to a leader. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I believe. Wait, is that shocking?
Yeah, it is.
For me or just in general?
I didn't think that you would say that you needed to be submitted to a leader. For what? Like to...
I mean, when you're...
To be covered?
Seeking to be covered, when you're seeking... I don't know it all. So even I go to the gym, we seek trainers, I go to college and I seek more information. I'm on Instagram and I see that somebody is teaching a class. I go seek, them. So I think in this spiritual walk, it's hard. It's so hard to live for God. So I can't imagine me in my room by myself, watching Mike Todd and just thinking like, oh, I got it all. Of course, reading your word in the Bible and God is going to reveal certain things to you. But there's certain things, like shout out to the church that I go to, Mount Sinai and Pomona and my leaders. There's certain things I don't necessarily always want to hear from them, but they tell me and I'm like, all right, this is what it is. I've been very edified being at my church. Wow. There's so much that I can tell of the benefits of me being at the church that I'm at and the way that I've served and the way that I've been under my leader and how they've covered me, how they've made sure that I've been able to show up well in different spaces. But I think, you have to. And I get it. I come from leaders. I have seen the good and the bad from my own blood. So not, from a distance or I was in a church. I've seen it from, these are the people that have raised me. These are the people that have, or have been siblings of the people that have raised me or, my great uncles, whatever, great aunts. So I've seen it done right and I've seen it done, wrong. I've seen them also turn the corner and come back to God because there's reconciliation. For sure. And all of that. Right. So I've seen a lot. So I get it. And especially if you don't have a strong relationship with God, or if you didn't sit under leadership and you're disappointed, like I understand it. But there's a right space for you. There's a right way to do it. And it does take work to find it. But I definitely believe like ain't no way you can be out here and I'm not gonna say in a way because people are doing it and not being covered, but a covering is better. Okay. Because you think about a car, right? If you gotta park your car outside, my car will stay cleaner if I put a covering on it every day, right? Not that it's gonna be extremely dirty and whatever, but if I put that covering on it every day when I get home, I'm preventing myself from stuff falling from trees, me having to go to the car wash as much, me making these mistakes and the car looking whatever, the paint being damaged on it. But if I commit to this covering, if I submit to this covering every single day, yes, it might be taxing to put it on. Maybe in the rain, I don't want to do it. But at the end of the day, when you look at somebody that has a car after 5 years that didn't put it on or even put it on less, and you look at the car that you did it more often, that car is going to look better than the other car. So, I think a covering is, I'm going to say necessary, but I'm going to also, for y'all that are not covered, say more beneficial. We're not covered. Okay. Okay. Well, I want to know your thoughts. I want to know your
subscribe to that.
No.
Oh no. And
so
I'm gonna tell you why.
You think you don't need a leader?
I think that you don't need a leader to encourage your walk with God or to or to stay within the law that God has set out for us, because I believe there's a law, right?
Yeah.
But without the covering, you can do well. You can do well. Because let's be honest, when we think of a leader, we think of someone who's older than us, who is presumably living the right lifestyle, a better lifestyle than us. Yeah. They got it together. They've done the work. Yeah. They studied their word more than we have. This is what we think of our leaders. Yeah. And I have just always been under the impression nobody is 100%. For sure. Nobody got it all the way together. And a lot of time, those leaders be the ones who be the most, and I'm going to be respectful because I curse a lot, so I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but they be the most effed up behind closed doors. And this is, again, me witnessing the leaders that I grew up watching live totally different lives on the outside of church that nobody in the church is privy to except for me, because God really did give me a gift. And then, if a person is able to be corrected, God, I notice a lot of times send correction through me to give to somebody else, and I don't be wanting to do it. But he's used me for that because of the way that I could present it, and I'm not, like I said, judgmental, and I'm able to give it to you in a way to where you're going to be able to receive it. And then, I'm not out telling nobody's business and woo, and that matters, because you have people who will correct you and then go and tell somebody what you did or how you were living or whatever. So I feel like God has trusted me with being able to correct, but I'm also the type that can take correction, and I have a teachable spirit, but I'm very, like I said, under the impression that a leader could be anything, anyone, any age. But we don't necessarily need it to further our walk with God, because of God, if you're taking accountability in your own life to get closer and to do the work in your faith walk, you'll get there without a covering. You don't need, because let's be honest, even if you didn't go to that church of Pomona, your mom, your dad, they've been covering you. They've been praying for Jasmine. Right. You know what I'm saying? So we're covered. And there are people in our lives who have covered us, whether we know it or not. And so you don't necessarily need to be under a leader to be in line. I was on the prayer line with my best friend, like I told you, she started a prayer line. And we were in conversation, and I was praying, and after I prayed, one of the girls said, are you a prophet? And I was thinking to myself, I hate when people point that out, because let's be honest, God will show anybody anything. God will get the message through anybody. So I don't want to feel like, or make it seem like I'm that. And so I was like, God, give me a message when you give me a message. My best friend was like, she's a prophet, but she just needs to get under a leader who can help cultivate her gift. Now, I don't subscribe to that at all, but I didn't say anything because that's what my best friend believes. Yeah. And I'm not the one to be like, and I'm not about to argue with her on her Bible study and disrupt the mood. I do have church etiquette. You know what I'm saying? I ain't about to be like, man, I don't believe, so I just kept it to myself, but I'm thinking I don't subscribe to that. I don't believe that, because Jasmine, your gifts work without that church of Pomona. Your walk with Christ, still your walk with Christ without that church of Pomona. You don't need to be under a leader.
I don't think my story is the same without being there. Okay. Now, because I have and it's funny because my cousin, we grew up the exact same. So it's like, how did I become this churchy and you like, doing what you doing? But he has said like similar things like, oh, you could be who you are without that church and whatever. But for me, like, of course there was going left and going right. There could still have been a life for me on the left side, and there could have still been a life for me like on the right side, which is where, or not, I'm not saying right and wrong, but just different places.
Just different paths.
I don't think I get to where I'm at now without that, me being at that church. And I'm like, it's not necessary for your walk. Like, I think God still honors you, but I also challenge people on, do we want what's best or just what's like okay?
That's deep.
Like, do you want to be, and I don't even want to say the best Christian, do you want to be able to live a life not even like as a light bearer, just live a life like the life when you by yourself, how you feel is at peace, and you knowing that you aren't wronging people, or you're not doing things, or even when people are wronging you, when things are happening to you, when you're going through ailments and stuff, to get to a place where you're stronger than what you used to be. Because like I said earlier, walking with Christ is not easy.
No.
You know, you have, I mean, I'm dealing with ailments now, like different stuff. And I mean, I don't know when this will air, but yesterday I had a physical therapy appointment. And I have rheumatoid arthritis, so I've been dealing with that for 7 years. The therapist was like, as I was walking out the door, he was like, I'm just really impressed with your attitude, because the people that I see your age with these symptoms are depressed. He was like severely depressed. That's the difference between me, and I don't want to say like a regular believer, but I'm going to say that, and then a non-believer. Like, I've been graced and strengthened to go through the things that I've been graced and strengthened to go through. But I have a strong community that I lean on. You know, I have leaders that are like, they check on me or edifying me, not necessarily like, okay, today we gonna talk about how you gonna, you know, get through this arthritis, right? But it's just certain messages, you know, that I'm hearing, or even how you mentioned, like, okay, the leaders aren't perfect. One of the most impactful things that my bishop said, he was just like, even as I get older and get higher into certain positions, I have to check my mind, because there's thoughts that I have that are not of God. And he said that in a message one day, and it was so encouraging to me, because I'm crazy, right? So I'm like, well, if he is still checking his mind, then I'm okay. Like, because, you know, we think like, oh, because I'm crazy, like, no, God is not, you know, I must be far from God, or I'm not, you know, he must be closer to him. And he was just like, no. And however, my bishop is, but he was just like, no, I'm in this space doing all these things, preaching and doing all of this, but I'm having to pray even more for my mind.
Wow.
And that's a moment of transparency, but it also encouraged me, like, okay, I'm not that far from God.
Right.
You know, and I think those are some of the moments that you can't, you know, you can't put on paper and tell somebody like, oh, this is why you need to be in church. Right. But that was something that edified me and that I still, you know, remember now. So for me, it's like I said, do you want to be the best version, or do you just want to be a version that's just like, oh, you look good, you know, it's cool? Or do you want to be like, no, I'm getting more, you know, like I'm going in and allowing people to help me be edified. Like, yes, I have my strong relationship. Yes, I have my devotional time. Yes, I talk to God, but then also, like, I'm allowing people that are more progressed than me to pour into me. And I'm accountable to somebody. And I think, especially being someone that's like, I don't want to say I'm a tyrant, right? Like, in a negative sense, but like someone who's edgy, who's gonna go for it. Like, you know, I'm all, you know, for the things. I need some things to reel me back in sometimes, you know, and having a leader does that. And some people need things to push them more into being more vocal, to being more, you know, so you need the leader to push you into that. But we need to be pushed into what we need, and you can't push yourself.
Okay. And hearing you talk, I literally just changed how I just viewed just that whole concept of, do you feel God in the church or outside of the church? Hearing you speak like that is the same way that I feel like my best friend has explained it to me. Like, she gets more from being inside of the church than she does outside of it. And now I'm really starting to think maybe it is subjective, because I'm going to use myself as an example. When I left the church, I wasn't no longer a member of a church by the time I was 18. I was still going to church, like I said, to sing, but around, like, I don't know, 24, 25, I was just like, yeah, this is it. I feel like I really went through a washing. Like, God really, like, had to cleanse me and work me out and get me together, and I started feeling a stronger connection to God after leaving the church. Because inside of the church and growing up in the church, everything felt so performative to me. Everything felt like unauthentic, and I would feel uneasy in church, and I felt that for a long time. And you know how you hear preachers and stuff in the church and ministers say, the only people that feel, and I've heard this verbatim, the only people that feel uneasy in the church is them demons. Them demons don't want to be sitting in church. Yeah. And I just knew that wasn't me. Like, I ain't no demon now, But something felt so unauthentic about being in church, clapping when they tell me to clap, singing with songs that wasn't resonating with me, sitting amongst people that I know aren't here for the right reasons. And not that I'm caring about why they're here, but it just felt like I wasn't in my community. When I left church, I felt like I heard God more through the weirdest situations. I mean, like, even to this day, I can walk outside and see a tree, and I'll call my husband, like, let me tell you how the tree just ministered to me. That's how I get it. Yeah. Outside of the church, I feel God's presence more than I ever did in church. And that's what has kept me out, because I'm like, it just feels more authentic, and his presence feels stronger outside than inside, because I don't need a lot of what some Christians need from the leaders, from the community inside the church. I get that outside of the church. And now I'm starting to think maybe that's a lot of people's, deal.
Well, it's more so reflective of God. I mean, I think he exists in the mundane spaces just as much as he exists in the church. And I'm a traveler. I go all around this world, and
I see you traveling, girl. I'm like, girl, she be in China. You be everywhere.
Well, yeah, and I oftentimes, and I've traveled some places by myself, and I can see someone who doesn't have my experience going and sitting in this conversation and being like, I feel God all over the world. Why do I need to be in church, right? But to feel him in both places, to be able to sit in Rome by myself, like the beginning of this year, I was in Rome and Spain. I left for 2 weeks.
Rome and Spain is crazy. Some of us will never get to Rome. I will. But Rome and Spain is crazy.
Yeah. So for 2 weeks, I went by myself, and yes, I felt God. Yes, I felt him in a deep way. I'm sitting in places where people don't speak English, and it's me and him for 2 weeks, and I don't know nobody there. I'm not meeting nobody. I'm just like, I'm by myself, doing whatever. And I can see how someone who hasn't experienced him, or maybe doesn't have a positive experience of the church, would be like, well, this is my church, and I can see that. But at the end of the day, I'm somebody who because I found a good church, and I think that's the piece. You have to find something that works for you.
I agree with that, Jazz.
Yeah.
And I agree with that.
I give the example of, like, if you have 5 kids, you can't go get you a little Fiat. You gotta get you a Suburban.
Something that fit.
So you have to look, and I know it's not easy. Like, I grew up in the Church of God in Christ. We have jurisdictions. I can go anywhere. I mean, at this point, almost in the world right now, and because we're in 122 countries, so I can go anywhere and find a Kojic church, and they're gonna be playing the tambourine, it's gonna be the organ, and it's what I'm used to, right? But I realize that's not everybody's experience. So for me, it's a lot easier for me to find a church, but I'm like, for me to find value in experiencing God around the world, and also find value in a church that has a couple hundred members, and see that, no, God is just, like, I experience him greatly in all of these places. I hope I can be, like, encouraging to somebody and say, like, dang, if she saying, even when she in Rome, the God that she's experiencing and the God that I'm experiencing when the organ is playing, like, it's as impactful, it's necessary. Like, I hope I can encourage someone to get to a local church. Not that you got to be Kojic. That's not what I'm saying. But there's so many different ministries. There's so many different people and leaders who hear the hearts of people, like you, or that, like mine. I mean, we can sit here. I got a story, and I'm like, most people don't know that. They think because I'm so churchy, or I'm so in the church, and I'm still Kojic, like, that I wasn't heard. And it's like, no, we can run some things down, right. But I'm still there, and I hope that serves as, like, a testimony. Like, get somewhere. There's there's leaders who understand like the church hurt or whatever it is, and they're willing to walk with you and journey with you, and it doesn't feel like, you know, the old church or like the old saints and stuff. Like, it feels different.
Yeah.
I ain't, you know, necessarily a non-denominational, you know, person, but I know that it is serving a large group of people.
Why not?
I need a tambourine and an organ. I need a tambourine and an organ.
I saw your post. You said me and the tambourine go together real bad.
Yeah, since I was little, I've loved the tambourine. Like that, I mean, I don't even know like when I didn't know how to play and didn't know how to play.
Yeah.
I just knew how to play.
Yeah.
So I need that. You know, I love, you know, a hooper and a hollerer. Like, you know, that's it's nostalgic to me, you know, and it may not be.
I do like that too.
It may not be like, oh, I need it spiritually, right? But I enjoy that culture. Like, I come from a very rich church Black culture.
I had a conversation with a friend recently about the type of preacher that you need, because I need the same too. And I was like, I don't really care for the which is so crazy because I don't go to church anymore, but this is still something that I really, if I am gonna go, I prefer to have this type of preaching style. But I don't care for the new age. He got his Bible on his tablet. He's teaching, and he's like, no, I need somebody up in there, like you said, hooping. I need the old school Bible. It needs to look rugged.
Right.
I need you to be sweating. I need you to be coming off the pulpit, you know, coming up on the pulpit. I need that. Because with that type of like teaching and type of like convincing, you really trying to get the message across. You really have a story, and you trying to get it across to the people because you care.
Yeah. And I struggle back and forth because I've been so used to the hooping and hollering. So I've seen, now I'm challenging the people that are our age. Like, okay, why are y'all hooping and hollering? My pastor and my grandpa are like, y'all need to. Right. I need you to teach. Like, let me see if you got a word on you. Right. You know, because back in the day they weren't preaching from notes. Yeah. My granddad was that pastor where he didn't. I think my dad doesn't even necessarily really preach from notes. Right. Not that I'm not saying it's good or bad, but they had the word in there.
Yeah, I understand.
So you were. Like, it was, you felt that thing, and that's how you were, you know, communicating. Yeah. Now I'm like, you 30 and you up there hooping out, like,
what you been through to be really hooping like that?
I'm like, hold on, let me hear what you have to say first. Like, you know, so I'm like, cool, but I this is a whole nother conversation. I wouldn't necessarily sit under a leader that's closer to my age. I'm that's just not for me right now.
I understand that.
Yeah. So, but when I hear them, like, I have friends, they teach when they preach. You know, they might get a little excited at the end, but I think this younger generation, like, the regurgitating of what we learned or what we heard growing up, I don't like that. So I can understand. I'm like, let me hear if you got a word on you. You know, like, because you hear the organ start playing, we automatically start standing up when the organ is playing, right? If a preacher doesn't hoop, especially in our church culture, like, we like, oh, he didn't do what he came here to do. Like, no, like, and don't be at a convention and not hoop. They are never calling you back. Like, you're never getting called back. You ain't even getting called back to the local like convocation. So that's a thing in there, but it bothers me a little bit, and I'm like, for the younger generation. And then also for the demographic, right? Like, our generation in the unchurched, or even the people that were in church, like, we're looking for something different, right?
For sure.
Yeah, so you need 100%. To come and teach us.
Yeah.
Like, and then also, we got ChatGPT, we got Google, all of this stuff. So we like, and then we got YouTube. We're listening to a lot of different things. Yeah. So you got to come a little harder with some substance.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Has there ever been a moment in your life when you questioned your faith, where you weren't on what you're on now?
No.
Never.
I think God probably questioned me, but I'm like, what is she out here doing? But I'm like, I'm rocking with you. I'm just a little, whatever in the corner right now. Nah. There's never... even now, like, I'm in a tough season now. It's not tough. It's maybe tough to, like, somebody else. Like, I'm dealing with it and going through it. It is tough, but I'm getting through it.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not I don't think I ever like questioned him.
That's deep. I have a theory about faith believers, and I'm not gonna project this onto you because if you haven't gone through it, then you haven't gone through it. But in my theory, every faith believer will go through that at least once, and it'll come probably when you're at your lowest of low, and you're not hearing God. And not to say God isn't speaking. I think God speaks all the time. I think we have a hard time hearing him, or trying to get through the mess that we are to hear him. But I think God takes some of his most promising believers through that at least once, so that we can have the sensitivity that we need to have for those who don't believe, so that we can be able to it's kind of like how Jesus had to go to the cross and experience that, so that he can understand our pain while being the spiritual entity, not in his physical form that he is, that he was, but that he is now, as a spirit. He had to experience being in the human form. We have to go through a time when we are questioning God so tough and we just don't believe, so that when we preach to a non-believer, we're coming from I understand because I was there.
And when you say questioning, you mean like, are you real? Like,
yeah, for sure. Like, are you real? Going through the whole, like, maybe you're not, have some moments where you're like, not cursing God, but on some like, I just don't believe. I don't believe.
I mean, I'm going to say this. I think some of us, and not a lot of us, for the lack of a better term, like our big dogs. Like, I've been through some stuff. But if you're convinced, you're convinced. Blacks.
Jasmine!
Because I don't. Like, yeah, I mean, but I think what I think the issue is, we think that we can't go to God with our beliefs that are not accepted by the church, with our emotions that are not accepted by the church. And that's when you get to a point of questioning him, because you feel like he cannot answer the questions or deal with your frustrations. So then you go, oh, are you even real? But because I know that he can deal, because I know that, like, there's nothing that he can't handle outside of me or inside of me. Why would I question whether he's real or not? No, I just go to him with these hard things. Now, my pastor, the people at my church may not be able to deal with some of the hard things and hard questions that I have, but I know that he can. And there are some people, and I'll even go into it. So with my testimony, I don't know that but I was was dating females for like 10 years. So from...
Jasmine, you lying.
No, I'm not. From like...
First of all, let's pause right there. Jasmine, how old are you?
I'm 30. I just turned 30. So from elementary to college, I was dealing with homosexuality.
Let me tell you this. And I'm going to let you get back to your story. I'm going to let you finish. Never saw that on you. And I can spot that from a mile away. No, I'm serious. God gave me a discernment that's so strong. I can spot that spirit from a mile away. And as you know why I can. But I never saw that on you. Do you know what that tells me? That the deliverance was real.
Yeah, no. Some of us are big dogs out here.
That the deliverance was real. Because if I never even smelt it on... I never smelt that on you.
Yeah.
I'm so shocked. That is just a testament of God, how God will take you and clean you the hell up to where you're not recognizable by the people who... That really just... That spoke to me. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so with that, and I know, church people, y'all gonna feel away, but deliverance is a daily walk, regardless of how long you've been delivered or how long you haven't been delivered. Yeah. I went through, had been delivered for X amount of years and had been in the church actively doing stuff, serving, like in leadership, and went through a situation where I was like, hold on, Like I thought like I haven't struggled with this for 5-6 years. What is this?
Yeah.
Coming up. I had to go, and not had to, but because I know what the word says, I went to people that were mentors to me, and not even a lot, but people God gave me to go to them and told them, like, I'm struggling with this. I don't want to struggle with this, but I need to shed a light on what this is. So instead of in that moment being like, God, are you real? Because why am I having these feelings? No, I leaned more into the word and did what he told me to do. And because of that, I was able to keep walking in my deliverance. Now, some people in the church would have been like, oh, you need to get back on the altar, right? Those people that I told that I was dealing with something, they didn't shame me. They didn't even keep calling me and asking me, like, you good, you good, whatever. Like, they knew, like, oh, no, Jax was coming to me with this. She don't play. Like, she does want to walk in her deliverance, but that's a part of it as well. But if you think that God is going to be mad at you because you had a certain feeling, or because the thorn in your side was being the thorn in your side and was causing pain and you became weak in a certain moment, yes, you're going to go and question God. But if you realize he can handle that, whatever it is, why would I don't question him. I just go to him. Yeah. So I'm like, there's no. So I think when you're at a certain point, no, like, I don't know. And I be saying stuff and I'm like, you can't, when you say stuff, then you become accountable for it. Yeah. I don't know what I could go through that would make me question who he is. I'm very, very convinced. And I think he knows that. Now, God, I'm not asking for you to take me through nothing else. We already are getting drugged. Like, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying I just don't know, because I mean, I'm living in irritation and frustration right now. I don't know that people can see it, whatever, but we take it to God. I roll my eyes, I get over it, and I keep pushing. Like, it is what it. But like, I feel like I would be at a deficit if he wasn't real. Like, I'm gonna miss out. Like, who am I supposed to hold on to if you're not real? Like, my livelihood depends on you being real. So like, if I thought you wasn't real, what am I gonna do? Yeah. Who? Like, where to go? Where? So. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Let's pause, because this is a controversial podcast, and I talk about what I want to talk about on here. And I heard you say something that I stand 10 toes down about in regards to homosexuality, and I know a lot of people don't, and it's like this raging debate about whether or not it's a choice. And I heard you say, I'm going through this struggle. I don't want to go through this struggle. And I want to know how you feel. Well, I know how you feel. I know you believe it's a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you asking me?
I don't know if I'm asking you. I think I am just wanting to just make the statement about how, when we're, especially to faith believers, because this isn't for non-faith believers. If you feel like you was born that way, that's kudos to you. Right. But for the faith believer, what you are struggling with that you don't want to struggle with, you can be delivered from. Yeah. You can go to God and get some fixing. You can, and it don't have to be like what people think it is, what, pop culture has made it look like, via TV or movie shows where you go to your pastor or whoever your leader is in church and say, I don't want to be gay no more. Then they do an exorcism, invite people to the house. Right. It's not like that. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it is a choice. And just like you could choose to be with a woman, you could choose to be with a man. You don't have to succumb to your desires, because ultimately, if the law states this is not something that is smiled upon by the God that we serve, then you have the power and you are accountable for your own changing of your life.
Yeah. So what I will say is I understand the pushing or the narrative of, oh, it's not a choice, right? Because especially if you don't have the conviction of being a Christian and you're you're operating or you feel this attraction, there's nothing to push it away to make you feel like it's not a choice.
Right,
so
for sure.
It feels
that
heavy. It feels like, oh no, I can't get out of this. And then there's, why would I get out of it? Especially if, I told my mom and she's completely happy with it. My family is completely like welcoming of it. There's nobody pushing back. There's no reason for you to feel like, or to even question whether it's a choice or not, because you're just operating in your feelings.
Yeah.
Now the choice is the action part. So the attraction can be there, and that's one thing too. We as believers, whether you deal with homosexuality or not, we don't understand that the attraction is not necessarily scratch that.
I know what you were gonna say, but
the attraction is not the sin.
Right.
So the action is the choice. Right. So you having an attraction.
You teaching, Jazz.
And right now, we have a lot of people, and I'm gonna say I understand that, and I understand this. And this Saint's gonna say something, but you have women and probably men who are not able to find love or whatever. You know, the pickings are slim.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, let me go to the other side, right? I feel like that's a little different than those of us who struggled with the attraction.
Right.
And
because some of them is gay for play.
Or just like, I couldn't find a man and they want companionship, so they're like, I'm gonna go over here and I'm, that is what it is. It's still in the same line of living a gay life or doing whatever. But there are people who are actually dealing with the attraction, and I think the church has to understand that is not the sin. It's when you actually go and you lay down and you're actually being an active member of a gay relationship. That's the part where it's like, okay, that's the choice. Now, deliverance is a daily, hourly thing. So a lot of times we think, and right now deliverance is being glorified and they putting the bedazzles on it and being like, oh no, you need this moment. But I'm like, that isn't, it's cool to have the moment in the entry point, but like you have to disciple people and walk with them and let them know like, okay, even 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line, you still need to have a safeguard. You still need to have a boundaries. I realized that too. I'm thinking like, oh no, I'm in the church and I'm doing whatever. I'm doing my devotions every Sunday or every morning and doing whatever. And then you think you can let down a boundary and you don't realize how much that boundary was holding back until you let it drop. But you have to decide like, and it's very hard if you don't have something that anchors you. So for me, I feel like loving God is the anchor that will bring a lot of people into their deliverance.
Yeah, for
sure. But if you don't, and I tell
Christians
like,
for sure,
stop pushing when you see a gay person, you're trying to minister to them, stop trying to push them into not living that lifestyle. You need to push them into having a relationship with God.
Because that correction and that conviction gonna come once they get closer to God.
It's gonna come, and I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do behind closed doors if it's because you told me not to.
Right, for sure.
Like if you can't see me, I'm gonna go and do what I want to do. But if it's God, I'm gonna be going over to this person's house
because I can't hide from God.
Oh no, like I messed up. I'm gonna feel it, and even if I do fall short and I go to the person's house and do whatever I do, even after I'm gonna still feel convicted, and that's gonna help change me. But if it's for you, I'm gonna be like, oh, they can't see me. They don't know, whatever. So I'm like, push them to relationship, push them into like what loving God, what God has called us, to be, and allow God to like change them through that, because it's hard to get out of that lifestyle.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very, very difficult.
For sure.
And especially, I mean, like people have asked me like, well, what, this is like the only sin that's not like harming people. Like, everything else is like, oh, morally, like, do not kill, do not do this.
Right.
But this one, if you're in a relationship with someone and that relationship feels good, it's like, but then I go to church and you telling me that it's wrong, but I'm being loved by this person. How is that? How does God not want me to be loved correctly by this, person? And you can't explain that outside of, he just don't want that, and that's not his will for you.
Period. You may not be harming somebody else, but you're harming by way of your lifestyle, yourself, without even knowing it.
There's a lot of spiritual things attached to it. I know you're not gonna be okay with that, but
I know they're gonna talk some shit,
and but it's so
I don't give a damn. I said what I said. Jazz said what she said.
I mean, it's gonna be a lot on both sides, but it's okay. It is what it is. I don't sit on either side and not advocate for either one.
For sure, right.
I believe that deliverance is very much so possible. And if I believe that for the, LGBT community, I have to very much so be sensitive to certain things.
Right.
And not sensitive meaning I don't talk what I want to talk, but understanding, like, I get what you guys are going through.
Yeah, because I've been there.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And then also advocating in the face of people in the church, like, hey, we got to change the way that we're approaching this thing. If we really believe in deliverance, y'all got to stop having this, like, weird disgust for this lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because if you disgusted by me, why would I want your Jesus?
Right.
Like,
right.
I ain't coming into your church.
Right.
And I'm like, if we really believe in deliverance, we have to start being kinder.
Yeah.
And being more hopeful.
Yeah.
Like, if I know that deliverance is possible for you, I'm not gonna have a disgust, but when I see you, I'm gonna have a more, like, jubilant spirit, right? I'm gonna be like, okay, no, like, I'm hopeful for your future.
Yeah, for sure.
And I believe God can really change your life. I don't have to say that, but if I really believe that, I wouldn't be disgusted.
Yeah, right.
I think we need to be challenged.
I feel the same way. I definitely don't. You live your life however you want. I'm so sorry. I'm not one of them Christians that's like, you need to be doing this, because I stand behind what my beliefs are, right? I believe in the law of the Lord. I believe what I believe to be displeasing to God is displeasing to God, period, point blank. However, that's your life. I'm living my life. I'm trying to get right with my God, because at this point, I'm over here struggling with some things myself, right? But also we have to be, like you said, kinder and cognizant of the fact that if our duty as Christians and faith believers was to go out and be fishers of men, and that's biblical, because we fishing for the people who don't believe, the people who not living right, because we sitting in church together, not me, but you and the people that you in church with in Pomona, and y'all all believing in the same thing. Y'all on one accord. Y'all just up in there fellowship and having a good time, and that's great. But God gave us instructions to go out and get those who didn't believe. Go out and minister and live your life according to how God would want, so that others might see your light and glorify your Father in heaven. You know the scripture. You know what I mean? So, the Christians need to stop hating the gays. Because most of the Christians is gay. But anywho. I want to ask you this.
Okay. Yes.
Do you believe we need institutions to connect with God, or is God within us already? Really scratch the first part, because we've answered that already. Mm-hmm. Do you believe the whole narrative that God lives within us? How do you feel about that when people say that? God is in me.
I mean, so I would go like, okay, Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit lives within you.
You teaching, Jazz. You teaching. Go ahead.
This is so good to me.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So that is a thing. Right. But I don't trust anybody just being like, God is within me.
Right.
Because what are you basing it off of?
Right.
Like, your own thoughts?
Right.
Like,
right.
Like, where, because our flesh is very much so alive, and it is the governing, right? But it's essentially the governing part of what we do. Yeah. Right? That's why we're like, okay, we go and we believe, and then we need the Holy Spirit to come and to correct us, to comfort us, to do all these things. But I'm like, what? If God is just automatically within you and you're relying on whatever's within you, like, how'd you get that? Yeah. So I would say, based on the word. Right. Like, I would just question, like, what is your foundation with this, like, God is within you?
And you got to believe the word in order to really understand that concept. Because I feel like a lot of people who say, God is in me, either don't read the word or just don't
I am a
believe.
God. It's like, is that the same
as being the God?
Well, they're just, because that kind of like culture of like, oh, I'm a God or whatever. And I'm like, I get it,
Yeah, I 100% get it.
I get the sentiments behind it. Yeah. Like, okay, yeah, you're, you him. Like, not God, but like, you that guy, whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's a cool, like I'm not insecure thing, but
I would say confidence builder. I'm great that your confidence is on 1,000,
sure.
but I still reference an actual, because like my husband says this all the time. You know, he's a God. He's the creator of things. Great.
Him.
You're a creator of things, but the creator of the things, the things that you couldn't create. You think that's you? You think, like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I have a question. Do you guys have different beliefs as it relates to religion?
For sure. 100%. But that's another conversation for another episode. But 100%. Okay. Love of my life, though. I know God gave him to me. He's on his own personal walk. But definitely we view things differently. But then we always end up coming to the same sentiment. So I'm like, child, you believe in what I believe. You just don't be wanting to say it like that, because there is a lot of unanswered questions, and there's a lot of like confusion about like the world. He's one of those humanitarians who's like, I want the world to be better. I want people to be better. Why does homelessness exist? Why And he's like, why would God allow? And I'm like, hold up. God is not allowing.
Right.
You think he's, you know, that's another conversation. But
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say this as a church brother, and then I'm gonna get off of it. But you know, you're gonna have to get back in the church for him to get himself together. For him to come over. A little bit.
There's too much. I'm telling you, I saw too much.
It's a place for you.
I'm so scared. You know what? Let me say this. If you was to invite me to your church on Sunday, I'm definitely not going to be like, oh, no, girl, I ain't going to. I will go. What I'm saying is I'm never joining. I'm not about to be a member. And I'm not about to be held to this. Because, again, growing up in church, we were told, if you in church, you need to be a part. You need to be doing something. Like you need to be you need to be serving. You need to be a part of one of these auxiliaries. You need to be doing something. Because if you just, I remember being told as a child, if you are a member in the church and you're not adding to any of the auxiliaries, or you're not doing anything, then you're just dead weight in the church and you holding the church down verbatim. Yeah. And I'm like, what the? I came here to hear the word. You mean I gotta be ushering? I gotta be doing something? Like, damn, I'm not even there yet. Can I? You know, and not me. I was there, but I'm just saying, hearing that, I'm thinking, what about the people who aren't there yet? You know what I mean? You make people feel like it's just too many rules and regulations that I don't succumb to. But I'm still the person who believes in the Bible, reads the Bible. I like a good singing. I like a good message. I like fellowship, and I want to fellowship and go home. I don't want to have to be there every Sunday, and because it's going to be a time when you're going to say something and I'm like, I don't subscribe to that, and I don't want to sit amongst something that I don't subscribe to. So you're saying you would never go back into the church? No, I will. I'm just not joining nobody's church. Not joining? I'm not joining nobody's church.
But what if it's a good like if it's a situation or a pastor in a body that is beneficial to you and what you want?
There's too many things that I don't agree, especially like about teaching. Like I don't believe hell exists. I know. Okay. I told you. It's like some things I believe. I do not believe that there is a burning place where our souls go when we die. I don't believe that.
Okay, we're not gonna touch that.
Okay, yeah, we can have we can do a part 2 of this.
No, for sure. But I mean, I will say, step by step. Okay. There's no, I mean, we can't, because I even tell people like, okay, even on when I'm thinking of like, okay, I need to get on this diet plan or I need to do this. Like for me, it's not beneficial for me to look at, what the 30 days is going to look like, right? Sometimes I just need to be like, okay, well, tomorrow I'm going to eat a salad and I'm going to go to Kava.
I feel that.
And drink a smoothie.
Yeah.
And then I will worry about the next day when that day comes. And then I look up and it's like, oh, it's been 50 days.
Yeah.
You know, so I think step by step.
Okay.
And you do whatever. But I think also like, even the same thing with my cousin, we have our like angst against it because of what the people said, and it's like, well, lean on God, you know, and you take things with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But he is not saying that you need to go and serve your life away in the church, right? He would be very much so happy with you just getting to a church and being fed, and then 2 years pass by and you're like, okay, maybe I will join the praise and worship team. He ain't mad about that.
Yeah, right.
You know,
he
like, you know, you do what you do. Like, of course, we're always going to have, like, our grandparents or whoever raised us, like, that voice in our head. But that voice is not God's voice.
Right.
You know, so it's like we have these angst against the church because of what the people said to us. Yeah. But God never said that. Yeah. You know, he never said, like, oh, if you come in here, you're going to feel like... Because even me, I'm like, they was like, if you sitting in the back, you a sinner. And I'm like, dang, sometimes, like, even now with, like, my ailment, I'm like, I just don't want to walk all the way up to the front. Like, that's crazy that y'all told us that. Like, now I'm feeling like, let me limp my way all the way to the front so they know that I got some oil on me. Like, what? Like, that's crazy.
Or you know what used to bother me? Since we... Back in the day when we would be in church, and I know you've heard this, let's say the preacher say, you know, stand up and give God praise. You didn't stand up. This is praise. You didn't stand up. And you got some people who's still sitting down. Y'all act like God ain't never did nothing. I said stand up. Y'all just gonna sit there and give God a half praise. Yeah. And it's like, oh my God. Like, because I didn't stand up when he said, and you think I'm like not... Like, what if I'm praising real hard in my seat? You know what I mean?
And I'm real different.
I don't like the performative aspect of church.
It's very performative. And I'm real different. Like, I'm churchy, you know, to the unchurched. But sometimes I'm like, y'all up here hooping, hollering, and shouting and doing all that, and I just need to sit here.
I just need to sit here.
And I've become okay with the way that I worship and praise, and people will look at me. People looked at me before I was giving him a yes, like she ain't saved. Now they still looking at me like she ain't saved. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, it is what it is. I know what my alone time looks like. I know what my deliverance looks like.
Period.
And then one thing I've had to tell family members, like, go ask God about my deliverance.
Okay.
Because it's no way that I'm living the life that I'm living and he's not going to reveal it to you if you ask.
Or check the fruit. Oh my God, I'm so glad that you said that.
Yeah, like, I know what I'm living.
There is nothing this is biblical, in the dark that won't be brought to light.
Whether it's sin or goodness. Yeah. Like, sometimes we like to lose that with sin.
They can just get away with it while judging other people and, woo, child. And it's like, and I believe just what you said. I believe this. I believe I have this power in this walk with God where I could be like, God, show me this about this person, and He do it every time. And so, like, you know, it will serve you to worry about your own walk instead of worrying about my walk, because I know the genuinity that I bring to God when I'm like trying to get it right. You know, even in regards to this conversation about going to church or not going to church, I know the conversations I've had with God, like, God, okay, if I don't want to go. Yeah. But if you ever place me back up in the church, it gonna be the right one.
Because wouldn't you want
like
your kids and your husband in a healthy, like...
Yeah, I do. But also, I don't want to be the person, and hear me out on this, because I have been the person who has, so in reference to my best friend, who like I said, we both grew up in church. Yeah. When we got into our teen years, I was still heavy in the church. She strayed away and she was just like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Early adulthood, she was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And then I was like, no, Bess, come to my church. We being fed. Woo, woo, woo. She came to my church. Some crazy stuff ended up happening. I started changing. I didn't like what I was becoming. It just became too much. And I left and I said, guys, you need to do a work in me, right? Yeah. You need to do a work in me. But I had already brought my best friend to the church. She got to the church and she ended up leaving that church. And so in my head, I'm like, I'm responsible for her not having a church home because I brought her to the wrong church. And then I ended up leaving a church home, you know. So and then like a lot of the things that they were teaching at that church was just completely wrong. Completely wrong. It was a lot of foolery happening. It was one of them smaller churches where everybody damn near family up in there. A lot of time foolery happening and God was revealing some things to me and I finally, you know, got away from it. But my fear for like my children and my husband is I don't want to bring them somewhere and then they're being taught all the wrong things and then my children grow up believing a certain thing and then it's just not in accordance with what God would have for their lives. And then they're like, well, my mama had me in this church. You know what I mean?
That's a lot to put on yourself though. That's why I said the day by day.
Girl.
Because it's like, yes, but then you know, I think you stay in your word, right? And you being under someone that is, I mean, you know, you get a leader that is a mother, right? Or, you know, they have a family, right? And they're able to help you and guide you because Yes, quite honestly, like no church is perfect, right? So there's going to be certain mistakes, right? But you can take certain things from people. And sometimes it's not only the leader that you're going to be pulling from. If you're in a good place,
I believe
there's
that.
other people
I
that are
believe that.
there that are going to, you know, help you. So
Yeah.
even like my church now, I went through something. It was extremely hard, right? It was extremely hard. Happened by somebody that was a member of the church, right? But then there were other people in the church that helped pull me out of that pit,
Yeah.
you know, that I was in. So I was hurt in the same place that I was able to heal,
Wow.
you know, in. And I think that's the part about community. But like, you know, even you're saying like, okay, if there's a wrong and then my children are going to believe whatever, but like, you're not going to just be like, oh, you taught my kid 1 + 1 = 3. I'm gonna just let my kid keep believing that. Like you would step in and be like, hey, or talk to your leaders. Hey, I didn't really vibe with the way that
Jasmine, you know you can't go to your leaders and talk about something.
No,
you go to church.
No, okay, but see, I'm different because I'm girl. I'm gonna say this, like, stop feeling like you can't talk to these people. They're not on the pedestal.
It's
like,
not about not being able to talk to them, because I have that same boldness. I will. I have. But I see what it turns into. And I see how then sermons become, y'all need to respect y'all shepherd.
Well, you're not in a good place.
And I know. That's why I got out.
So, well, I mean, the good leaders, you can talk. Because I'm like, I be saying stuff to my leaders, and they know me, you know, so they know who I am, and I'm very grateful that they allow me to be who I am. That doesn't mean that they don't correct me, because we didn't have some conversations where they've been like, Jasmine, you need to go do this, and I'm like, I don't want to do that, you know, and I say that to them, but I understand that I can be myself, but if I'm my full self, then I can be fully edified as well, and then become better. But like, I understand, like, I came from leaders. I have leaders all in my family, so that like kind of intricacy or that nuance of like, oh, I get it how people feel like, oh, they can't talk to certain leaders, or like, oh, they're going to do whatever. But like, develop a relationship with your leaders. Like, go and talk to them. Like, even if somebody is tripping, if it's not the head pastor, right, but it's like an executive pastor or something, or, you know, the leader of the ministry or something, like, stop holding that stuff in. Like, go in and make that stuff, you know, be like, if it's somebody bothered you dealing with something, even if they said something that was great, like, you know, you're like, I didn't really agree with what you said. You know, whatever. And I know can be difficult, but like, you're there for a reason. You know, so don't limit, you know, the things, and hopefully they're praying to God, and even if they're offended by what you say or they didn't like what you said, they'll take it to God and have a good response for you. But that's like, also seek God about where you're going to go. You know, like, don't just go where the glitz and glamour is. You know, like, ask God.
Because that's where the most hell at.
You know, talk to God and be like, where should you send me? And he'll do something like random, like, oh, you driving down the street and it's like, oh, I looked over to the left and there was this church, and I've been here for 10 years, you know. So to the people, like, you know, lean into him for those answers.
This is gonna be my last question. I have other questions, but I feel like you kind of answered them already. Do you think people fear having religion in their lives because of the doctrine of heaven and hell, even if they feel spiritually unfulfilled?
Do I think people fear? What was it? Fear
religion.
Fear religion.
Because of the doctrine of, you know, heaven and hell being in, you know, in Kojic. That's really...
It's heaven or hell.
It's heaven or hell.
Yeah.
There is no in between. There's no purgatory. Either you're going to heaven or you busting hell wide open.
Or you're busting it wide open. I'm like, why can't we bust heaven wide open?
Right. They make it. They're like, bro, when you're
never
not
busting heaven wide open. Like, let's do that.
So yeah, even if they feel spiritually unfulfilled. So like, what? First of all, you believe that heaven and hell exist?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like in its literal sense.
What other? Like, you like hell on earth? That, like, in that... No, I'm saying, but like,
compared
in contrast,
to like... In contrast to like, yeah, like, so here's what's about to confuse you. I know I'm a big baller. I'm not gonna say a big baller confusion, because that's the devil's work. We all know. But I believe that heaven exists. I don't believe hell exists. And I'm gonna tell you why I believe heaven exists.
Okay.
That is a more, for me, believable and practical way of God expressing his love for us than hell. And I do believe that the hell that is talked about biblically is the hell that we live in our human bodies on earth based off the decisions that we make and us not living according to how God would have us live our life. So it's like if God is telling you live your life this way so you can gain all these riches and these things, and then if you go against that and you don't do it, I'm not gonna send you to the fiery pit, but you not having my covering, God's covering, and me being in your life is going to be the hell that you're going to experience. But I do believe that when we die and we're not in our physical bodies and there's our spirits, I do believe we go to a special place, and it is the heaven that is described in the Bible.
Well, my challenge on that would be like, there's like, God doesn't promise heaven on earth like for the believer, like a good life. Like there are very much so.
But when earth
Christians,
passes, there will be heaven on earth. That's biblical.
Well, no, but I'm saying in terms like there can be Christians that are completely 10 toes down about Jesus and living for him, and their life can be viewed as they're going through hell because of ailments, because of whatever. So I think I would challenge that because it's like, just because like, and that's why I say like God doesn't promise that the believer is going to have a bed of ease.
Yeah.
Sometimes people, I mean, even what I'm dealing with right now, like people would be like, oh, that's hell on earth. Yeah. Like you're dealing with excruciating pain. So that's why I would be like, okay, so when does that belief come and go? Like, where's the line when it stops? But most Christians are not living like, it don't feel like heaven, you know, and that's why when they talk about heaven or this absence of pain, like you're going to be up there, there's no more X, Y, and Z. Like, that's what that is. But I like, and I've heard that perspective before, but
you don't subscribe to it. You like,
well, no. Of course, I don't subscribe to it, but I would challenge. That's my challenge to it is like, being a Christian don't guarantee heaven. Yeah. Like I don't. I know a lot of Christians that are dealing with a lot of tough stuff, but they're just still, believing in God. And I know a lot of non-believers that are living well. You know, like he said, he reigns on the just as well as the unjust.
Yeah,
so
that's word.
I think that's something to just challenge that notion.
That's deep. What's your favorite gospel song ever in life?
Oh my God.
I want to see what type of girl you is. My favorite gospel song of all time is Be Grateful by Walter Hawkins. That's the best song I ever heard in my life.
That's too slow for me.
What?
Yeah.
God has not promised me. I love that song.
Yeah. I'm too. I'm like, which? I don't. Of all time, is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a like tambourine bop, organ like stomping. So, I mean, it could be. I don't know. I'm like right now. I love like I don't know. Because I want to say like the Vincent Bohannon like tambourine bops and stuff. Okay. Like
I don't know who that is. Is that a newer person?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I want to say older. That's why I'm like I could go old school, but I'm like
I grew up on the Helen Baylors. I grew up on the. I'm
a choir. I love the choir.
Yeah.
Too. So I don't know. I don't have. It's too many. Like it's way too many. Yeah. I can't pick one song. But any organ, tambourine bop. Let's do it.
Okay.
Like,
do you have a personalized tambourine?
So it's somewhere, yeah. But we have tambourines at my church, so I don't bring it out.
When's your birthday?
July 24th. You gonna mess with the saints' theology?
I ain't even gonna bring it up. You know what I was thinking, but I know how they feel about that, so I ain't gonna bring it up. I was just thinking I'm gonna get you a personalized tambourine. I didn't know you was a tambourine. I grew up a tambourine player. I love a tambourine
girl. Yeah.
No,
it makes sense. I have. It's
like I ain't gonna shout in the aisles, but I'm gonna give it to that tambourine.
I'm not a shouter.
I'm not a shouter either, but the tambourine can get it.
Yeah, and I'm like that's probably one of the most churchy things about me because I'm not, and it took time for me to like really just accept that I'm different from them. Like I believe, the things that they've taught us. Like clearly, my views, people would probably call them conservative. not that I'm a conservative.
Right,
but,
I understand.
But for the people, they may be a little confused.
Yeah.
But yeah, the tambourine is something. But I've had to really, not even necessarily do a lot of work, but just accept the fact that, like, I look different from, what I was raised as, the way that my grandmother, my mother has, I don't want to say practice their faith like I practiced it in a different way, but I express myself differently. But realize, I got oil on me too.
Okay.
Like, it is what it is. So yeah, but
Jasmine, this was fun.
Yeah.
This was fun.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Again.
I know, we do. Okay, before we get up out of here, you need to tell us where we can go and purchase. I just wore it's crazy because I hit you up the day that I had, and what made me think about you is because I was like, dang, I bought a New Black History Maker sweatshirt, the tie-dye one.
Is that green or is it?
No, it's like
colorful?
A yellow. It's
okay.
colorful. And I was like, dang, like just to see how your business grew. Because I remember when you were selling it, I bought it from you out of your trunk. I came to your house and I bought it from you out of your trunk. You really like have a website now and you're just doing all the things and you're really blossoming in your businesswoman just realm. And I fuck with that.
Thank you.
With that.
Thank you.
I love that.
I appreciate it.
So where can we find you on Instagram, in your website? Like, shout yourself out.
NewBlackHistoryMakers.com. You can go and shop there. New Black History Makers on Facebook and Instagram. And then if you want to follow me, I'm at Gates University on Instagram. Okay. So, yeah. Come get merch. All
right, this has been a saved conversation from the Pastor Gates and the minister figures. Y'all gonna catch us next Sunday at, what's the name of the church?
Mount Sinai.
Sinai?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's where Jesus went up to. Okay. Was it
Come
Jesus that went or was it Moses? Somebody went to Mount Sinai, revealed himself, and somebody was blinded. It was like, oh shit. All right, y'all gonna see us at Mount Sinai in Pomona next Sunday.
Come visit.
See y'all next week for another episode of Podcast 1001. Bye, y'all.
We'll never play. Ain't got time for the games. I'm after the pay. Here in LA, where you